Today, we're talking about a band that didn't just write some good songs. Oh no, they completely rewrote the rule book for the entire world. Let's dive into the incredible story of the Beatles. Just picture it for a second. No huge stadium shows, no artists defining a whole look for a generation. It sounds kind of quiet, doesn't it? Well, before the 1960s, the world really was a lot quieter, and definitely a little less colorful.
And this is where it all kicks off. Out of a port city in England, this brand new sound, this raw, exciting mix of rock and roll, pop, and soul, was about to just explode across the globe.
To really get just how big their impact was, you have to understand the world they walked into. It was a world that was just waiting for a revolution in sound and style, and it was about to get completely turned upside down. And with that simple, almost kind of playful name, the stage was set for something that would change music, fashion, and even the way people thought forever. So who were these four guys? Well, they got a nickname that just perfectly captured their vibe, the Fab Four. See, it was these four totally different guys coming together that created the magic. You had John Lennon, the witty, rebellious one. Paul McCartney, the genius who could just whip up a classic like Yesterday. George Harrison, the quiet, soulful guitarist who was a real innovator. And of course, Ringo Starr, the funny, steady heartbeat of the band on drums. Together, man, they were just an unstoppable force. So how did all that magic turn into fame? We're talking about a level of fan craziness that was so intense, so completely off the charts, that it literally needed its own name. This was way more than just applause. Beatlemania was a full-on phenomenon. When the band played live, the reaction was pure hysteria. Thousands of fans screaming, crying, literally fainting just from seeing them. And here's the wild part. The screaming was so deafening that the Beatles themselves often couldn't even hear their own instruments on stage. Can you imagine trying to play a concert that you can't even hear? It's nuts. And all of that leads us right here to 1966. After years of this nonstop, overwhelming noise, the band decided, you know what? We've had enough. Think about that. The very thing that proved how successful they were, the screaming fans, was what drove them off the stage for good. But this wasn't the end. Not at all. In fact, by getting away from all that noise, they were finally free to invent the future of music. This decision to stop touring kicked off their absolute most creative and revolutionary period. Away from the screams, they turned the recording studio into their own personal playground, just pushing every boundary they could find. They started experimenting with everything. George Harrison brought in a sitar from India, which gave their music this whole new psychedelic feel. They would literally play recording tapes backwards to create these bizarre, otherworldly sounds. And their songs went from simple love songs to these surreal stories about, well, yeah, a yellow submarine. And this is the absolute key. They totally elevated what a pop song could be. It wasn't just fun, disposable music anymore. Now it could be complex, it could be weird, it could be beautiful, it could be art. And their creativity didn't stop with music. They brought that same colorful, inventive spirit to the movies. They became these cartoon heroes in Yellow Submarine, saving the world with, what else? Music and love. So, they stopped touring, they made some of the most incredible albums ever, and then they went their separate ways. So why? Why are we still talking about them all these decades later? It's true, even though the band officially ended way back in 1970, their influence is just unavoidable. You hear them in movies, on the radio, you hear them sampled in other songs. They basically built the foundation that modern pop music stands on. And you know, beyond all the groundbreaking music, they left us with these simple, powerful messages that still hit home. All you need is love. I mean, that became an anthem for a whole generation, and it's still one of their most powerful legacies. I'm serious. Next time you hear a band playing with weird sounds, or making a concept album, or shooting a cool music video, just take a second and think back. Chances are the Fab Four paved that road for them. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who today is changing everything? Who's pushing music and culture forward in that same revolutionary way? That's a great question to think about. Thanks for listening.